Good afternoon. I hope you've had a nice morning in church, and if you haven't, I bring you the good news that I have defeated 2 more mosque planning applications. I want to tell you a bit about them now. I hate to be obnoxious about it, but I am, so I want to give you a bit of detail. Let me just show you the first one, which was in Croydon. Here we are. There is that's the site, so the Croydon website, and the application was at 120 Headley Drive, Croydon, CR00QF. Let me show you what that would have meant. There, that's the place. You see that place there, number 120? Let me just zoom in if I can so you can see the number. That is number 120. You see that there? Let me just zoom out. There. The Sarucci curry house and the barber shop there, and also that little doorway. The downstairs would have been turned into a mosque. Now what they called it, that's what it would have looked like. The Omar Cultural Community Centre. I don't know if you can see that there. Let me just do that. The Omar Cultural Community Centre. No, it's not a cultural centre. It's not a community centre. You can it with the euphemisms. This place was a nailed-on mosque, and that's what it would have been. So let me show you the floor plans to prove it. Now if I zoom out a bit, there is that's the ground floor there. If you see that there, there's one entrance there and one entrance there. 2 entrances. Can you guess, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, which one would have been for the gentlemen and which one would have been for the ladies? Now here, let me zoom in a little bit. There, multi-purpose hall. You see that? That's one huge great multi-purpose hall there. And then down the bottom there you see one tiny little multi-purpose hall. I think we can guess which would have been for the gentlemen, which would have been for the ladies. Also there's a little back entrance there, just in case you're in any doubt as to whether this was going to be a mosque. Alright, and again 2 toilets and a wash basin for the gents and a tiny little toilet for the women. That is a nailed on mosque. Now let me just go, hold on. Let me just go. Now, the reason it was refused. Now, this is not, I am not particularly impressed by this. The planning officer, let me just bring up the web page there. The case officer, Jenny Cowan. Jenny, naughty girl, you have not issued a very good refusal notice here. I am not impressed. It's all about insufficient information. Insufficient information has been provided in relation to the activities which are proposed to be carried out on site, etc., etc. And there is insufficient information to determine that the development could be successfully accommodated in this location without having a detrimental impact on residential amenity, blah-de-blah-de. And then reason 2, insufficient information on anticipated car usage and the effect this would have on the local transport network has been provided, specifically in relation to car parking provision in the area. So, yeah. How much information do you need? Just look at that. I'll show you the local transport network. That is a rank of shops along there. I mean, you just have to imagine going. You've got a couple of Amazon or eBay returns. You have to go by car to go to the post office over there. There's the post office, and then you want to go to McCall's, pick up some cheese, and then perhaps after that you want to go to the chemist for this, that, and the other, and lo and behold, on a Friday afternoon, do you think you'd be able to park? What about parking? I hear you cry as with one voice. And yes, you are absolutely right. So I think that old Jenny Cowan has not done a particularly good job. What I think that means is that the refusal reasons being based on insufficient information mean that we will see this application coming back next time with a couple of reports saying it'll be quiet as a church mouse around there, hardly anyone will attend, and there'll be no cars, everyone's going to bicycle to mosque. Yeah, like we see that all the time. Now, there is one thing about this application that I very much liked, and I very much hope I would encourage the Omar Cultural Community Centre to do this again next time. What you have, this again on the Croydon website, you look at public comments, what you see is objections 334. So that, by the way, is evidence that you can get people on their hind legs about these applications. People are willing to comment. When people say to you, I'm not going to bother, there's no point, what that means is they're just too lazy, they can't be bothered. So just stop talking to them, don't have anything to do with them. But then what you see is 533 supporting comments. And just I'll go through this page. This is page 3, but you could, if you wanted, you could click through them all yourself. Look at the supports. Manchester is not Croydon. Supports London E3, East London is not Croydon. Then objects, that's CR00QY, yep, objects CR00QY, the objections are local, but there's a couple of supports there, local or reasonably local, and then there's a support from East London SE22, and then there's a local objection, and then another support from London, Southwest London, East London, Manchester. These places are not Croydon. Now, please, Omar Cultural Community Centre, next time, when you submit your application, next time, please try do the same thing again, because that gives me the opportunity to go at the council saying, look, council, look how all of these letters in support are got up and whipped up from all around the country. And furthermore, this means there'll be a load of traffic, a load of cars coming from all over the country, from Manchester, East London, Southwest London, all driving here. Where are they all going to park? And that enables the opponents to the mosque to get you over a barrel on this application. So please keep doing that. Please keep doing what you're doing if you apply next time. Okay, now let's look at the next one. The next application is this one in Blackburn and Darwin. And you see it's 51 Harrison Street, Blackburn, BB2 2JE. Let's just see what that would have been like. Yes. Now let me just show you. See that street, that residential street? See those houses? Now the property in question is this one, just that little terraced house. Let me zoom in a bit. So you can see that's number 51. That little door next door, that's number 49. So I'll zoom out again. So that small, it looks like it might not even be a 2 up, 2 down, a little 2 up, 2 down terraced house. That the nerve on these applicants sometimes to stick a mosque right in the middle of a street of terraced houses, and to think that's okay. Suppose, I mean, you couldn't get a silent Quaker meeting house in the middle of a terrace street like that, let alone a mosque. Now let me go to the next one just to show you the layout. This again, another nailed on mosque. That's a proposed ground floor, that's a proposed first floor. Ground floor, you see all the banging and scraping spots there, and upstairs you see teaching rooms. So that's a mosque, although I don't know if it would have had men and women's entrances. I can't tell that definitively here. And what I think was such a nerve about this application is what about parking? Where's the parking going to go? Now let me just go back here. If you see that, if I zoom in there, what you'll see, hold on, you see that little blue sign there? We all recognise that. That means don't park here. You're taking a risk. Some parking attendant, some meter maid might come along and slap a ticket on you. That's residents only parking, as it should be on that parking is a problem on that residential street. And so, what did they say about parking? They said, don't worry. We'll provide 4 parking spaces over the street. You see that there? Let me just zoom in a little bit. What it says is four number parking spaces. What do those parking spaces have to do with number 51 Harrison Street? Absolutely nothing. They are part of I think a wedding venue or a banqueting venue that's over the road. And according to the planning officer's report, the applicants claim that the fellow who owns number 51 also owns that wedding venue over the road, and was basically saying, don't worry, people, if they go to the mosque, they can park in the 4 spaces that I have for my wedding venue. And of course, the council said quite rightly, there's no evidence to show that there's any permanent connection between those 4 parking spaces and what happens when the wedding venue is in use. This is the kind of stunt that mosque applicants pull, and this was dealt with very well by the case officer. In this case was a fella called Christian Barton. Christian, if you're watching, and if you go to one of your let me just do this, but if you go to one of your planning officer conferences and you see Jenny Cowan there, when you break for your undrinkable coffee, please approach her and be as obnoxious as I'm being, because you provided a good report and a good decision notice, and I don't think she did. So please boast and crow over her, saying what praise you got from me. Maybe I hope that doesn't get you fired from the council that I've said something nice about you. But well done, Christian. Now, so what I want to do is to read Christian's the decision notice, or I assume it was written by him. The development, by virtue of its position within a partly residential area, would result in an unacceptable loss of amenity for the area. Yeah, too right. Can you imagine the noise coming out of that place last thing at night? And then the development, by virtue of a failure to provide adequate off-street car parking within a partly residential area that has both parking restrictions and residents-only parking schemes in place, would have the potential to displace parking requirements onto the public highway network. Quite right too. Well done, Christian. You have done a good job there. I am happy with that. So now, what does that mean? Now let me just go back here. What that means for me, I hate to be obnoxious about it, but I'm going to be. And that shows that my tally for mosque battles is 89. And of that I've won 56. That's a little bit under 2/3. When I'm feeling particularly offensive, I'd say I'd round it up to 2/3. That's a 2/3 success rate. That isn't bad. If the state imposed a blanket ban on mosque building, it would probably succeed 20% of the time. Well, I'm doing more than treble that. So I'm on 89. I've got 8 more in the pipeline. Some of them are getting quite delayed. The planning system appears to be starting to crumble. But I think they'll come through. So 89 plus 8, that's 97. And another 3, that'll put me up to 100. That should make absolutely no difference to anyone whatsoever, except for you, if you're watching this. You are a select band if you're watching this by definition. And the small group of really heroic people who fund the costs of what I'm doing, for which I am extremely grateful. I wish I could express that gratitude better. The only way I can express that gratitude is by jugging these mosque applications, and I've jugged 2 of them here. So thank you. That is good news on a Sunday afternoon. 2 more mosque applications in the bin. One of them might come back because the decision notice was poor, but I think they were poor applications, and if they apply again, I will rise up to meet them again. And if my best is good enough, I will jug them again. Thank you very much.